Terence Crawford looking past Errol Spence for a big money Canelo fight. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, y'all. So, over the past few weeks, Terence Crawford has been giving a lot of interviews. Rightfully so. He beat Errol Spence in one of the biggest fights of his boxing career. Probably the biggest win on his resume to date. And he's been mentioning Canelo's name a lot. I just wanted to give my 775 nickels on what Bud has been saying and break it down for anybody listening.
Like I always say, I respect Terence Crawford. He's a very talented fighter, but he just win one big fight. If you see his record, he just beat one good fighter like Errol Spence.
All right, y'all. So Terence Bud Crawford, man, he's really been mentioning other names other than the fight that he has contractually obligated next, which is the Errol Spence Jr. rematch. But he's been mentioning everybody else's name. He's talked about Gervonta Davis. He's been screaming Charlo's name for I don't know how long. Lately it's been Canelo and a few others as well. But the one thing that all of these names and all of these fights have in common is they all come with a huge payday if Bud is able to land them.
Strip, you little shit, before I tell you a new asshole.
Now, the thing about it is, I believe that the Errol Spence rematch comes with a huge payday. Now, maybe not as big as a Canelo fight, but from what I've heard, both of these guys are going to make upwards of another $20 million because what's being reported is that they both got near $20 million for the first fight. The rematch, they're supposed to make around the same amount for the rematch that they did for the original fight. But I think the problem is that I think Bud feels like because it looked so easy or he made it so easy in the first fight that fans are not going to want to tune in for the second fight because they think that he's just going to beat Errol Spence that quick again.
Doctors say I'm down to 88% body crack.
And then I think that's kind of funny, and I think that he's almost setting himself up for failure when it comes to the Errol Spence rematch. Now, of course, he wants that Canelo fight because it comes with that huge payday that comes along with Canelo and being the face of boxing. But in the Errol Spence fight, if you're not fully focused, you're going to end up in the same situation that Errol Spence did. Not that Errol Spence wasn't fully focused, but I think Errol Spence, in his mind, thought that he could just go in there and do it like he's always done it, which has always worked for him. But Bud obviously is a special fighter, a little bit better than the other guys that Errol Spence has faced off with up until this point. And I think he should have took it just a little bit more seriously.
The jab is the most underrated punch in boxing.
Look at the fucking length on this thing. This is a hammer.
Whether that would have helped him or not, I highly doubt it because of what Errol Spence has said in the past. And I think this is where Errol Spence made the biggest mistake, was divulging to the public that he couldn't make the 147 limit anymore without killing himself, basically.
So, what brings you to Crackwilla?
And I think that's where Terence Crawford got, smart, for lack of a better word. And once he heard that, I think that's when he started preparing for Errol Spence. He knew that if I go in strong and I can finish strong, I can most likely beat Spence because he's going to probably be at his weakest or at a vulnerable state because of the things that he had to do to make weight. And I think that's what pretty much lost Errol Spence the fight, is that he kind of gave away information that should have been secretive until the fight was over with.
Don't shake my hand. Do I know you? What the fuck are you here for?
But I think Errol Spence, in his defense, was trying to hip the public or his fan base to the fact that, hey, I might have to drop these titles. I've waited around for Terence Crawford for too long, and I don't think I can make the weight even if we do make the fight. But Errol Spence, being a stand-up, commendable guy, he went along with the fight, even though I think he knew in the back of his mind and in his best judgment that, hey, I'm probably not going to have the best showing in this fight. And I think this is the reason why he was so adamant about the move to 154 and not even mentioning any other names at 147, because he knew if I go in there at 147, it's probably not going to be a good look for me. And I think Bud is making the same mistake, only he's doing that with bigger fights, because I think he feels like, well, I took down the big fish, I can take down all these guys. I am the big fish.
Yeah, boy, Flavor Flav.
I'm that guy, and I think that's what has beaten a lot of great fighters in the past. Look at Roy Jones, jumping up all those weight classes, thinking because he was athletic at a certain weight class that he was going to be able to just do it to everybody. And when he moved up, he started getting beat on a whole lot and losing a lot of fights. Antonio Tarver, once he got, the big head, he started taking losses. It seems like that happens to pretty much everybody who gets the big head in the sport of boxing. And I think Bud is going to be the next victim of that. Basically a victim of himself and not, focusing on the next fight ahead of him.
Dang it, man. My phone update. How many times is your Apple gotta quit this stuff? They using me, man.
Now, I'm not saying he's not focusing on the Errol Spence fight. I'm just saying it seems like he's not focused because he's talking about everybody but Errol Spence. And I know Errol Spence is ready for some get back. So that means he's somewhere getting himself together and formulating a game plan specific for Terence Bud Crawford. Not only that, he's been preparing once again for 154. This is the reason I think that he ballooned up so much in weight, is that he was preparing to move on because Terence Crawford was taking too long. And Terence Crawford, once again, I think he knew this, and he kind of pulled the rabbit out of the hat. Like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and try to make this fight when I feel comfortable with it. And now that I know that he's ballooned up in weight to the point where he's going to have to take drastic measures to lose all this weight, I'm probably going to win this fight. And kudos to Terence Crawford for having a great game plan. But don't think for 1 second Errol Spence isn't going to try to use game planning to his advantage.
If you are able to anticipate it and prepare psychologically to accept it. I never allowed myself to be influenced by people unless they influenced me with facts. Discipline enables a person to do that which needs to be done, which is also my definition of a professional, no matter how he feels within. The physical part of boxing is so minor that most people would never believe it or accept it.
Hit that like button for me. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Share. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. But you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If you want to collabo, feature a product or your channel on my channel, feel free to hit my Gmail, because it is a flock of cards at gmail.com. We are live.
Louis Keys, KY cutthroat, rolling up thumb, blowing smoke like a tugboat. If you know me, then you know I get my rep on. Big nasty green, I'm trying to get my Shrek on. New gun rack for me to sit my tech on. New guillotine with you to sit your neck on. Acting like a chick, you should probably have a dress on. High heels, a wig, makeup, and press on. See me in the club, I'm getting my two-step on. Bottle in my hand, I can use as a weapon. If you're out of order and getting your disrespect on. What's a hot track? Anything I put my breath on. Now when they heard this, everybody gon' feel it. Work in the back, make the car pop a willy. When I first dropped, they was acting all silly. Now I'm on fire, everybody gon' feel it. It's your boy Key, tell them who they dealing with. It's your boy Key, tell them who they dealing with. It's your boy Key, it's your boy Key, it's your boy Key, it's your boy Key. Now hating on me, anything I stand for, that's suicide like doors on a Lambo. Come through deep, that's how you get your man smoked. Try and give me that, that's how you get your hand broke. You out of line, you hate to be cold. I'm on the grind, I'm making the dough. Shorty low, her booty is scraping the floor. She don't know that I'm taking it though. I'm undefeated, I'm 80-0. They say I got an unhateable flow, and you know I gotta agree. You been heard for a block away, gotta be key. Now when they heard this, everybody gon' feel it. Work in the back, make the car pop a willy. When I first dropped, they was acting all silly. Now I'm on fire, everybody gon' feel it. It's your boy Key, tell them who they dealing with.